2024 school committee has announced Dr. Marie Robinson as the new superintendent of the Bangor School Department. Robinson has over 25 years of experience. Most recently, she served as RSU 89 Katahdin Schools superintendent. She spent her earlier years in Philadelphia, moving to Maine in 2016. She says she was drawn to Bangor, experiencing a sense of belonging, community, and dedication, especially during her interview process. While at Katahdin Schools, she helped improve attendance and graduation rates, which she hopes to also do in Bangor.
Superintendent Tagger has done an excellent job with increasing graduation rate, so that will be an ongoing effort. It's still, right around 90%. That means we have 10% to go, so I'll be working on that. And then, of course, the chronic absenteeism. I think we need to focus on that, and the overall health and wellness, not only of students but staff and families. I'm really looking to partner with families to really connect and ensure that we are offering the best possible learning environment we can for our students.
James Tager is retiring at the end of the 2023-2024 school year after 3 years with the district.